In 1939, the world had not yet fully healed from the wounds of World War I. Across Europe, people were trying to return to peaceful lives, but behind the political scenes, a massive storm was gathering. In Germany, economic crisis, unemployment, and a deep sense of national humiliation were growing stronger. In this environment, Adolf Hitler rose to power, promising to restore Germany to greatness. Hitler's ambitions were far from simple. He aimed to establish German dominance across Europe. On September 1, 1939, Germany invaded Poland. The attack was so fast and overwhelming that the world was stunned. Just 2 days later, Britain and France declared war on Germany. World War II had begun. In the early years of the war, the German military seemed unstoppable. Using modern tanks, aircraft, and lightning-fast strategies, they conquered country after country. France fell in only a few weeks. Many people in Europe believed the war would end quickly. They were gravely mistaken. The year 1941 changed the course of the war. Hitler made one of his greatest mistakes. He invaded the Soviet Union. It was one of the largest military operations in history. Millions of soldiers were sent to the brutal Eastern Front. At first, Germany advanced rapidly, but when winter arrived, everything changed. The Soviet winter was so harsh that some soldiers' weapons literally froze. One soldier wrote in his diary, "We are not fighting the enemy, we are fighting the cold." That same year, another event turned the conflict into a truly global war. In December 1941, Japan attacked the military base at Pearl Harbor. The United States immediately entered the war. This was no longer just a European conflict, it had become a world war. The war was not only fought on battlefields, but also in the daily lives of civilians. Cities were bombed, and families spent nights in shelters. In London, people often slept in underground subway stations during air raids. Yet even in those dark times, people did not lose their sense of humor. One London resident joked, "Even if a bomb falls, at least I won't be late for work." One of the most brutal chapters of the war unfolded in the Battle of Stalingrad. The fighting lasted for months and became one of the bloodiest battles in history. Every building was fiercely contested. In the end, this battle marked a turning point against Germany. After Stalingrad, German forces slowly began to retreat. On June 6, 1944, a day remembered as D-Day, Allied forces landed on the beaches of Normandy in France. It was one of the most complex military operations ever planned. Thousands of ships and aircraft moved in coordination. One soldier later recalled, "There was fear, but there was no turning back." At the same time, the darkest side of the war was being revealed. Nazi concentration camps were liberated, exposing unimaginable atrocities. Millions of innocent people had perished in these camps. These discoveries became known as some of the most horrific crimes in human history. By 1945, Germany was trapped from both sides. Soviet forces advanced from the east, while Allied troops approached from the west. The final battle for Berlin began, and the city was reduced to ruins. In May 1945, Germany surrendered. The war in Europe was over. However, fighting continued in the Pacific. Japan had not yet surrendered. In August 1945, the United States made one of the most controversial decisions in history. It used atomic bombs. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki caused devastating destruction. Shortly afterward, Japan surrendered. World War II had finally come to an end. When the war ended, the world was transformed. Around 70 million people had died. one of the greatest losses in human history. Cities lay in ruins and economies were shattered. At the same time, a new international order began to emerge. The United Nations was established, and nations sought cooperation to prevent such a tragedy from ever happening again. World War II left humanity with many lessons. It demonstrated how powerful and dangerous technology could be. Innovations such as radar, jet aircraft, and nuclear energy advanced rapidly during this period. But the most important lesson was clear. Hatred and aggression can set the entire world on fire. Yet this war is not only a story of destruction, it is also a story of courage, friendship, and the will to survive. Soldiers supported one another on the front lines. Civilians refused to lose hope under extreme hardship. In some places, people would drink tea together after bombings, reminding themselves that life must go on. Today, decades later, the memory of World War II remains alive. Museums, films, and books continue to tell its story. Because this war is not just history, it is a warning. Humanity must never forget its mistakes. And perhaps the most important question is this: if we had lived in that time, what choices would we have made? History teaches us one thing above all: peace never comes by itself. Every generation is responsible for protecting it.